to live stream today. We're going to get a little bit deeper into what I introduced yesterday. This is very appropriate timing. We're meeting under a Scorpio moon ruled by Pluto, who just stationed direct in Aquarius this last week. And I am full of Pluto stationing direct wisdom. As I mentioned yesterday, I'll be teaching this weekend on the 25th, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, on Pluto, the high octave of Pluto, the most misunderstood aspect of Pluto Scorpio, the connection between soul, God, and even our ego experience. We're going to talk about how all of this comes together in some of the deepest, furthest, what we can grapple with in this experience. It's going to be a spiritual deep dive for those interested. Again, that'll be 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, I introduced the fact that this is bringing up intergenerational tension. That's not only reflected in the fact that the fixed signs typically have this powerful tension where there's squares between Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. Aquarius also very specifically rules the entire human species, the entire human consciousness. So what we're discovering in this very intense period, even these days, can be the tension that comes up as unconscious collides and makes contact with other unconscious. Scorpio rules close proximity, claustrophobic experiences. As I said yesterday, you do not know the soul until you know their shadow. And we live in a world of shadow avoiders. I'm going to go deeper into just how dangerous avoidance is, because honestly, I think that the avoidant type of shadow is the most dangerous thing in existence. The avoidant type of shadow is not going to be someone who has an easy time seeing or understanding where they're flawed or where they can potentially go offline. And the word sin generally means to miss the mark. So let me clarify here. I do not hate the sinner, I hate the sin. And boy, I really do hate the sin at this particular point. This pathology has destroyed most of my friends and families at this point. And that all comes back to me in the form of shadow projection, as if it were my fault, like I hate my friends and families. No, it breaks my heart to be around my friends and families who are suffering so greatly via a lacking of awareness, particularly in the no-touchy zone of relationships. You probably all know you can't really assess people's relationships from a distance. I think if we really had friends, we would. Of exchanging, if we were not afraid of the deep end, if we were not afraid of emotional content, none of this would be a problem whatsoever. But the avoidant type is driven by insecurity to avoid their shadow. Their shadow, therefore, is sparkly. Ha 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 ha! Woo! Laugh, laugh, laugh. Disassociate, disassociate, disassociate. Oh, what? Someone in my family just died? Well, those emotions don't go nowhere. I'll let you know, I've been absolutely emotionally overwhelmed in the year that I've lived in this space because there was a tragedy that's actively being avoided. And I'm an empath. And I'm going to share more of my personal experience in this one, not to put, it is for my own protection, but more so, this is about justice. And the amount of gaslighting that I receive via the what we're going to continue to term the pirate captain and the cowardly crew, the abuse that goes in between and the abuse that gets discharged, this shadow projection, the gaslighting, is absolutely abusive. It is absolutely catalyzing brain damage in my own experience, and that's no laughing matter. So a part of this is validating what the truth is by to happen to me. Everything is already out on the table. And do I need to keep secrets for those that are actively seeking to destroy me via their own absolutely delusional fears. No, I don't feed that. I don't enable that. That is why I do get on the receiving end of the abuse. Okay. So yesterday, in the effort to not dehumanize, because I will not stoop to the lower levels of my adversaries in a dehumanization tactic. Since the very beginning of this year, I was absolutely terrified of this reality happening because I know what the fuck is going on. I know how human beings are. And you know what? People never let me down. Not only that, they really validate how worse the situation actually is. So I've been in this shit show for the last year. I'm not attached to this place because I was already dying to get up and out of here via what's going on beneath the surface that I was basically being thrust into and then invalidated again and again and again and again and again, as if the things that I'm pointing out are not true. And then what gets seen as criticism will trigger the insecurities of someone who is driven by insecurities to create their entire world. They will see someone who triggers their insecurities as an enemy. That is why there's not people walking behind me, because as soon as I start to shoot this video, they are hiding in their home out of fear of me, after effectively turning me into a literal Halloween witch, which we all just have to laugh at. But I also have to take it seriously because of the actual fallout, and it seems ridiculous when you deal with such pronounced immaturity. You can't take it seriously, and then these are the people with fucking guns. And they're trigger happy, and they let me know that. So we're gonna talk to these dynamics and get even further into it because, man, have I gotten a front row seat to this again and again and again, and that's no accident. This is no accident that it's happening this year. Whatever I choose to talk on, if it's a big subject, if I'm really putting my heart into it, God will always give me the experiences I need to be able to take my life experience and teach in a totally embodied, applicable, somewhat personal way, so we can actually access what it is that I'm speaking to. So again, there's no dehumanization taking place here. That angers me more than everything. That's what gets projected onto me quite often, such as saying that someone's a demon worshiper or a Satan worshiper or a witch of all these things is absolutely fucking insane. And it makes you pause and question, why are these things coming up? Obviously, there's a huge amount of divisiveness going on collectively to attempt to get a fragmentation, a conflicting between people by inflating people's fears, which is what I brought to my neighbor, to the landlord, out of concern for what's going on, and their devotion to avoidance means that my triggering insecurities is completely my fault. I am the cause of all ill in the world. Absolutely got that validated, because they now get to bond over having a shared enemy. And that is one of the most bonding things that there is. A shared enemy. Beware the glamour, the gravity to be drawn into taking down, criticizing, certainly dehumanizing somebody else to bond in this really creepy trauma bond type of way. So yesterday, I introduced the pirate ship captain. And the pirate ship captain is a natural leader. They want to dictate over others' lives, and that's why they have a crew of cowards, specifically a cowardly crew. Now, in psychologically terms, these two types, one of them is demonized and dehumanized via the actual labeling, and one of them is completely not. And that's a problem, because both the pirate ship captain and the cowardly crew are just as guilty as one another, just as enabling, just as dangerous, just as destructive. I mean, this is not good, because what we're dealing with at this time is a war of realities. And what I represent via doing the evolutionary astrology, which takes you into the bottom of the barrel, including some of the hardest aspects of life, guess what that gets me? All the fucking time. Projections upon me that I'm dark, that I'm clearly doing black magic because I have gone down to experience the fullest spectrum of life so I could help people in their hells, in their underworlds. I have never shied away from that. I have also never met someone in a human body who's not a human. And I've had about 10,000 clients at this time. And that is why the level of goofiness of the current Leela, that again is simply extremely profound and useful initiation into a sort of mastery, is where I feel I'm at right now, because this type of stuff used to get to me to the point of getting me really down, or breaking my heart, or making me feel sad, or getting convinced via the gaslighting that there truly is something wrong with me, that I'm really fucked up. And of course, I know there is absolutely nothing that I did out of line other than attempt to communicate what was too uncomfortable for the other person to receive. And for me, this is the most difficult part of life because of how tricky other people are. I mean, I can't even really blame myself too bad for this. I've gotten absolutely to a mastery degree of discernment right now. And I'm sorry to say, my trust of humanity has gone to an all-time low for very good reason. But I was previously put into survival situations. Okay, you choose the lesser of evils, right? I mean, this is not as simple as people think, because yes, I was born as a scapegoat into a narcissistic family unit, and it's almost like others have just handed me around. You can use this scapegoat to the next. It's like got father, handed off to my first partner handed it off via a total smearing of my character, so that way flying monkeys would follow me and try to destroy my life. Really, really insane shit that totally took me for a loop, because in my utmost conditioned scapegoat consciousness, I would always blame myself. So when my first partnership ended, I'm like, okay, I'm the bad guy. I'm clearly the shipboat captain, and you're clearly just on the crew and all this. And man, everything has turned on its head. Everything has turned on its head. Even this last year, I will tell you, detecting a narcissist is not easy. And I don't think hardly anyone can if you have not had real close, intimate experience with one, especially covert types. People love covert narcissists. Covert narcissists have whole crews around them at all times, and then they make themselves look really good because their entire orientation is towards looking good, so they're not as bombastic as a grandiose type shipboat captain, who's just like outwardly extremely dumb. No, the covert's very tricky about this, but at the end of the day, it's the exact same thing. Not someone who has any capacity for empathy, which means they do not care about you. They are scanning you. They are monitoring you to find your vulnerabilities, your weaknesses, and then be able to pull those strings to get whatever they want to get done. And that's why, again, I'm bringing in the personal. I'm in Morganton, North Carolina. There is much more personal information that's going to get published online automatically should anything happen to me, because I'm not a dumb guy. And when someone is witch hunting, that is a sure sign of stupidity, pure stupid. But as I've been saying since the beginning of the year, out of utmost concern, not just for others, but for myself, because I know what it means to be a scapegoat. Stupidity and evil yields the same result. Run away from your education of what it means to be a human. Run away from your own therapy, your own need to explore your own psychology, and how dare you approach me as a so-called friend into evolutionary astrology. That is deceptive. And I have been taken advantage of time after time by highly manipulative people. These people believe they are flawless. They believe they have no shadow. Actually, let's get into it a little more, because I want to start talking about the shipboat captain and the cowardly crew dynamic in a much more complex way than I even hear hardly anyone talking about out there. The reason why it doesn't matter that there's 2% natural shipboat captains out there pathologically, because those that they infect, those that they bring on board to become nothing more than a limb of themselves, become the same thing. So the cowardly crew merges into the shipboat captain and eventually becomes them. There is no difference. There is no difference. There may be a slim chance of hope for someone who's been on a shipboat for many, many, many years as a cowardly crew and gets off and doesn't have another shipboat captain around him. Otherwise, they're going to get reabsorbed by the next one. If they can actually get into a stable, what I've been trying to do for years, an actual in the middle of nowhere so nobody can follow me and project their bullshit onto me, which is why it's really ironic that that's happening right now, because what I'm learning is the actual inevitability factor of life and what it means to be on a spiritual journey, because you don't actually get free of squaring off with evil when you're at a certain stage of being bright. When you're at a certain stage of being bright, you're going to attract people for all sorts of different reasons, and many of those people aren't even going to know why they are attracted to you. I want people to be attracted to me so I can disseminate my wisdom and teachings. I hope that the people coming to me want to receive that wisdom. And I'll talk more about it in my talk on the 25th, but the original Sai Baba, one of his most famous quotes is, he was a miracle man. So he was, jewels and you're healed and brought back from the dead. All of these Christ-like miracles are more so common in India, especially more than a century ago. He said, I give people what they want so that way they will want what I want to give them. And I'm in the same exact way. Yeah, I'm going to try to help everybody out, but what I'm really hoping is that you want what I want to give you, which is the actual evolutionary astrology, because that to me is the most blissful interrelationship with God and nature that you can possibly tap into, that becomes so intimate, that becomes so full of awareness. We don't have to read fantasy novels to have a life that is thoroughly magic. All right? So generally, per definition, a shipboat captain is not able to see their shadow, period. The actual mental coping out of what is typically a very early and very intense trauma is to create a fog machine, false reality, false self. So you can technically consider the shipboat captain to have split personality. There is a true self, which is very deeply wounded, that can never be acknowledged. And then there is a false self that is like a superhero, and it comes in with insane, almost nearly supernatural magnetic powers and charisma. And that's why people project their shit onto me, because I have some charisma. But guess what? You've got to be aware of what's actually beneath the surface. You've got to be aware of what's actually driving the machine, because that is what makes all of the difference in the world. So per definition, shipboat captain is not able to become self-aware. They are not able to look at their shadow because the pain is too much. This is per definition. If someone changes, they're no longer a shipboat captain. Shipboat captain is unable to access their shadow. So the cowardly crew, the flying monkeys, are brought online via the fog machine that they're dependent upon. Why? Because they're running a program of avoidance. They want distraction. They want fabrication. Do you think that I could possibly, as an astrologer, attract this type of person, despite how redundantly and how 100% of the time I'm literally saying the exact same things years after year, which is why it's hilarious that anyone can project this whole fantasy. And it also is triggering because the medieval age was just like this. You could be perfectly innocent and be accused of witchcraft and have your life be destroyed. There is something heinous going on behind the surface that needs to take place. It is the biggest red flag in the world. I was already alerted from the inside out, which is why I'm fucking going crazy this last year. So I made sure that my lease is going to be up in a few months. I'm going to be up and out of here. They want to blame all of it on me because they can't look at why I'm actually leaving. That's totally fine. I just can't get stuck in this environment that prevents my healing because it's actually triggering again and again and again. But here and now, this is mastery. because I'm not getting thrown off. I'm getting informed. I'm getting initiated. I'm getting re-inspired. It's helping me to write my talk. It's helping me to understand this dance between good and evil, because anybody can be good and evil. And if you don't know where you can go evil, if you don't know where you have the potential to get swept off your feet, go offline and get possessed, I guarantee you, you're running unconscious, possessive, what could very well be evil forces all the time without even realizing it. And again, my highly avoidant souls with the sparkly cotton candy fabricated type of shadow are the most dangerous people. They will become possessed by that shadow through the absolute dictation that they must be perfect, good, and correct. So the shipboat captain, per definition, has to maintain that. They have to be perfect or their whole reality is going to be destroyed. But guess what happens when a cowardly crew gets brought on the ship, gets siphoned by the shipboat captain? They take everything. They dress up the same. They act the same. It's where they get their whole life. It's where they get their whole lifestyle. It's where they get all of these ideas. And then in a very, very cowardly way, the cowardly crew can just be copying one another without any originality, without any creativity. Why? Because they offered that. They offered that on the sacrificial altar to their chosen shipboat captain. That's what the shipboat captain requires of their crew. You're going to hand me your soul. You're going to be a part of me. And the more I absorb you, the bigger I get, the more powerful I get, the more unstoppable I am. But if in the case that one of these shipboat captains is abandoned by their crew, the reality gets unmasked sooner than anyone could believe, and such a soul's in danger of getting sick and dying. The intensity of true narcissistic collapse is this way. Now, I mentioned the cowardly crew is basically either raised, because this could be a narcissistic family unit, and a golden child. The scapegoat is actually blessed in the narcissist family unit, despite how obviously PTSD and survivor even my body looks. And then guess what? I hear just a couple weeks ago, Timothy's giving me the evil eye, 50-year-old to 80-something-year-old mother. Because of these. Yeah, they're penetrating, they're dark, they're intense. I've always been penetrating, but now I've got survivor eyes as well. So people take the person who's been most dumped upon and just reuses them and reuses them. This is a matter of fact. This is a matter of fact. It's very disturbing. Like a woman who's been raped is more likely to be raped again, because predators can literally sniff that out in their prey. Now, is anyone who gets preyed upon by a predatorial type weak, vulnerable, deserving of that? Is a part of their karmic package? Fuck no. It can be a part of their evolutionary journey and unpacking, and eventually we do get there, but we don't have to race to get there. There's no reason that there should be any enabling or, oh, that's okay, or I'm going to withdraw back into my nothingness and everybody gets away with highway robbery. I've never been that way. Nobody knows that more than some people, which is why I can be deceived, because it's like, wow, this is fucking crazy. You've known me for a decade. You watched me go through the whole unmasking of my first teacher, who was a predatorial type shipboat captain, who destroyed the lives of many young women. And, you know, I've talked plenty about it, but it's like, to go through all of these processes with people, and then at the end of the day, to be targeted and thrown down even more maliciously than the truly predatorial people is fucked up. What I'm experiencing now is fucked up. It's not going to affect me, because I want to fucking leave, and I'm going to. And it's going to be so much better where I'm going from here, because I've known this for quite a long time. But it is also frustrating. I've had to move every single year because of the exact same thing. I'm just trying to get away from, okay, well, there are some loose ends apparently to continue to tie up here. And I really do sense 2025 is Literally, like every single horrific thing I experience is like, re-experience it again much faster. Some of you may have had a similar experience, and that means that there's something being culminated, there's a dialing up, and then something changes before it breaks down into something new and different. All right. So I mentioned in narcissist family unit, for example, the golden child is trained to be a cowardly crew, and they must be cowardly at first because they're running away from their authentic self in order to please their elected shipboat captain. So the scapegoat basically is the one who doesn't do this. The scapegoat is almost always the most intelligent, the most emotionally attuned. In my case, I heard in July, which was an amazing unmasking by my own father. It blew my mind. I was like, why did you hate me when I was like 5 years old? That really affected me as a natural hyper empathic soul. He hated my creativity, he said in a whisper, because no one must know the great secret. It's like, wow, that's really crazy to receive that. You don't ever usually get that from a shipboat captain. They never let their guard down, especially a covert type. So it's like, wow, that unmasking is actually coming from a very, very tiny, slim part of caring. Wow, it's there. And it is also completely validating that I need to get the fuck out of here. The scapegoat has been validated again and again and again. Well, what do you think the golden child is trained to do, therefore? You turn into the narc of the scapegoat. The whole family constantly dumps all of their negativity, or if they just need a distraction, they take it all out on the scapegoat. Plus, the scapegoat's usually drawing attention to the stuff that's not working via their higher intelligence, their emotional sensitivity, their emotional intelligence. I've literally spent my entire life being prejudiced for natural high empathy and emotional intelligence. It continues to this day. It is an absolute shutting down a hatred of the divine feminine. This is pure hyper masculinity, literally siphoning souls. You know, for example, Kundalini yoga is one that I have some concern, because it's like, do Americans really need this whitewashed, hyper masculine, shoot yourself into enlightenment type of practice? Not saying that it's wrong for everyone, because everybody's got their own thing, but you know, there's also lineages that are a lot more perverted than others, and if the head is a child predator, I don't really take that lineage so seriously. So you gotta watch out. This is, once again, shortcut to the end, no shadow work required, attracting the most shipboat captain types, absolutely inflating their ego. You are God, you are God, you are God, and you just get to shortcut there by doing some aerobics, of course. Yeah, like that's not driving people crazy. So golden child is basically trained to put down the scapegoat, and the scapegoat very well could be mother. That was my upbringing. I wasn't the scapegoat right away. That happened around age 5 ever since. Oh, God. This dynamic extends into all shipboat captain, cowardly crew relationships. The cowardly crew, whenever something is unmasking or exposing the narcissist, the shipboat captain. I don't want to use that word. I'm sorry, it slipped out. I don't want to use that word. It's a dehumanizing term. I'll say narcissistic type. I'll say that's narcissistic. But as soon as we say they're a that, they're not a human anymore. And codependent isn't the same. So shipboat captains, cowardly crew, to get out of this dehumanization that's widespread at this time. People are just following directions. People are literally just watching the news and then from the top down being infected via fear. And I'm gonna share, you know, some of the words I received. But first, what I already experienced several times this year is, because the cowardly crew or the golden child offers their individuality upon an altar of sacrifice as a way of pleasing their chosen shipboat captain, that happens all of the time. And they also bring in others in the same offering, sacrificial type of way. So mother and daughter can have a bonding together through a shared enemy, What you'll see come out of this via the using of the scapegoat and the rebonding of those who are using the scapegoat is there is a false light glow up that follows. And that is one of the creepiest things I've ever seen or experienced in my life, is the false light glow up that comes out of a successful manipulation between shipboat captain and cowardly crew to basically abuse somebody else. Because the cowardly crew has been trained to believe the offering of their individuality to their chosen shipboat captain is being a good boy or a girl. They're constantly looking for validation, just like the shipboat captain. They're constantly looking to have their identity validated, their false identity validated, just like the shipboat captain. They're all dependent upon the false reality of the fog machine. So should anybody show up in a way that exposes or contradicts or pops the bubble, they will be deemed an enemy. The triggered insecurities in people is seen as something wrong that's in them. Because if I feel bad, I'm already enlightened. I'm already ascended. I'm already chosen, blah, blah, blah. So watch out for that. Do not become a sacrificial limb being offered by a flying monkey or a cowardly crew into the venomous mouth of a shipboat captain in order to reinflate their own totally dysfunctional and toxic way of relating. You like my security camera? When I had a gun threaten to be pulled on me is when the security cameras went up. Isn't that a natural response? So, what happened in my own personal experience in the last few weeks that's provoking me to move here? Which is the most beautiful land in the world, and it means absolutely nothing at this point. That's one of the most profound lessons of this experience. You know what? I guess the outside isn't really everything, is it? Even when it is outside Goldilocks, you got all the shit. Congratulations. You got all the shit. You got your farm. You got your family. And so you're going to stay in stagnation forever, whatever. If it's bullshit, it's bullshit. It feels like bullshit. It tastes like bullshit. If it smells like bullshit, it's probably bullshit. You know? And look for people doing what they say. Because one of, a great red flags that you're dealing with in avoidant is 95% of the time they do stuff without saying they're going to do it first. And then when they do say they're going to do something, you can pretty much count on them not doing it at whatever time or whatever way. That is a huge red flag for an avoidant type, which I'm letting you know is one of the most dangerous types in the world. Because the avoidant type cowardly crew is going to bring you on the shipboat and do all of the work of making it flowery, of making it nice, of making it appealing, of making it perfect. We're going to have a family. We're going to be doing astrology presentations. Morganton is such a great, amazing place. And you know what? I think in some way there was a plan to utilize me in a certain way. I'm not sure exactly what or how to obtain more money, or I don't even know, as dark as it gets. I don't give a shit. I'm only sharing what I don't have to put the words allegedly before, because it comes from my firsthand experience. I got very frustrated with this avoidant type, who I've known for a very, very long time. And it's via that knowing a long time and the proximity and the closeness that there is more intensity and harshness and realness that comes for me out of care. Nobody can ever take away from me where it actually comes from. I care about you, so I'm going to say something that might be uncomfortable, but if you can actually get down with what I'm saying, I'm pretty sure your life is going to improve in ways you could hardly imagine. That's called doing dirty work. In relationships, this is basically an untouchable zone. And what's super fucking annoying is about how hypocritical all these people always are. Because we can talk shit about one another, we can abuse the shit out of one another, but as soon as somebody even says something slightly critical, we're going to target them, we're going to manipulate the situation, gaslight so much shit upon them, they will have to be on the constant defense. And if you're constantly being put in the mode of defense, even if you're totally innocent, even if you did absolutely nothing, it's a hugely manipulative tactic to make you look like a piece of shit. I don't have to be on the defense. That's why I'm not here in this video. Absolutely ridiculous. I've got a camera. My ex even gave me one of these. If you really want to demonize me, I've got all the evidence here. Because that's apparently literally what it takes. Oh, what? You wear rings? You got penetrating eyes? Mom, I'm being given the evil eye. What are you hosting? Because again, the confession is usually louder than the bullshit that's getting projected upon the innocent person. Everything that's going on in the dysfunctional, toxic, pathological dynamic is going to get shadow projected onto someone else. So it's actually a confession. And that's why people start saying things like, that doesn't sound like me at all. Yeah, because it isn't. They're talking about themselves, the parts they can't look at, and actively seeking to put them on you as if that were possible. This is literally delusion, because these people really think it works that way. Not up here. Up here, they're only being good people all the time. Unconsciously, the ulterior motivation coming from the soul, the body, the gut, totally perverted. Just seeking out what we get, what we use. We convince ourselves of this story, particularly the cowardly crew. It's totally delusional. The reality is in the actions. The reality is in what's actually going on. That's why your imagination and belief system could be one of the most destructive forces in the world, or one of the most inspirational, supportive forces in the world, depending on what that belief system is and depending on how healthy of a relationship that allows you to form to real life. If you are making your religion avoiding real life, the way a huge amount of people into the New Age and around these areas are into, anyone holding for reality will become the devil to you. It's as simple as that. The scapegoat. It's as simple as that. And I swear to God, like, the cowardly crew has, what's his name? Agent Smith like effect. It's like they can pop out anywhere. Same with the shipboat captains. I swear to God, there's like a hive mind interconnection, because it's like I've literally been handed around. My father's like, oh, in the last life, I was the patsy and you were the slave. You're supposed to be working for me and producing for me. He literally has my paintings all over his house. The man who hated me from age 5 because of my creativity. Could you imagine hating a child because of their own brilliance, first of all? Like, how fucked up do you have to be? How mentally deranged do you have to be? These are not people who should have children in any way, because they're having children to commodify and utilize them as opposed to raise souls. The amount of forcefulness of how much I was expected to conform to my father is what made Timothy Halloran, and why I'm so passionate about breaking others out of their imprisons. Even if they really think their prison is super lovely and nice, I can clearly see and reflect back what it actually is. The avoidant type is therefore going to say, this is the evil eye. What it actually was going on when that was said at me is I wanted to make eye contact because the other person could not. That's a red flag. What do you think if someone cannot hold eye contact with you? What does that say? This should be easy, right? Liar. You can't hold eye contact and lie. You know, you have to at least take a glance to the side. That's true. People give themselves away all the fucking time. People think this is psychic shit. It's not. It's listening to what people say, their words, their tones, their mannerisms, and their body language. If you can read those things, you have access to the soul, and people will think that you're psychic. Absolutely jealous of all the parts in themselves they had murdered, as if they couldn't reactualize it. When my father told me that, I was like, you could have been creative. You could have been creative. You could have been creative. He's literally like, blue screen of death. My father said I had to be an engineer. Okay, you told me I had to do a ton of shit I shut down and was turned into the scapegoat for doing. You're welcome, Halloran ancestry. It's been quite the cards I got dealt here. So anyways, in my personal drama, avoidant type via texting, it doesn't work. I plus avoidant doesn't work. I plus avoidant type, any situation does not work. I don't want to be involved. There's no need to be afraid of me if I don't want to be involved with people that go the wrong way. It's absolutely fucking retarded. People literally think that I hang on to these things and I'm like, and like sending curses out and all this shit. I think it's gross that people form these types of assumptions, but they need to. They need to validate their fucking crazy ass false reality. So there was a conflict between me and an avoidant, and that was it. That's it. I made some observations that were critical, triggered the other's insecurities, and that's it. Could this person communicate? Hell no. Could this person engage in a conflict in a healthy way? Hell no. Mommy got brought in. Triangulation immediately occurred. I was immediately shut out of the conversation when mommy and daughter took turns triangulating. The 80-year-old doesn't even know me at all. I've like sat by her 2 times when she talked 95% of the time. And then these people are gonna put on to me all these fucking ridiculous things. I asked the 80-year-old, I will extend my protection prayers to your land, but I'm not gonna, I wanted to ask you permission first. And she said, oh, such a sweet lady. You don't need to have my permission. Oh. Now we were sitting in the front yard together when I buried these intentional prayers. The prayer is a protection prayer. The protection prayer came out of here. This is the magic. You're accusing me of witchcraft? This is where my prayers came. From here into the earth as an offering of protection to my neighbor. Just like, I don't know, there's a bunch of cars here. It seems like everybody got together. My charms, my prayers, my heart, my love was scraped out of the ground. They burnt sage on it. Is that what witchcraft? Isn't that witchcraft? You're burning sage? Isn't it funny that others can do it and you can't do the same fucking thing? It's almost as if the entire thing's a sham. So, triangulation. Again, I simply have a conflict with this person I've known for 15 years. She brings in her 80-year-old mom to protect and defend her. This is cowardly crew material, is it not? The reason we have to acknowledge the cowardliness is the severe insecurity and being driven by fears must be off the chain for any of this to be possible. So, after this triangulation occurs, they are scraping up my prayers. I feel just hatred. I'm a hyper empath. Again, why did you hate me when I was 5 years old? Because that literally destroyed my childhood. I was trying to constantly understand and get affection from my father, who was never going to give it to me. He was going to say, ha, jump through this hoop. You're just kidding. Jump through this hoop. I don't love you. Just kidding. It's a bunch of bullshit. So via this triangulation, and if you have to do this, please go and get a therapist. Acknowledge, and then we can heal. And if you ever get in a situation where this type of low-level triangulation comes in, like, okay, we're going to tell our whole family how shitty you are, and then we're all going to come up and one by one give you an intervention. I experienced all this in July because me and my mother had a conflict. She's hyper-avoidant. She couldn't respond in any way, shape, or form to the critical feedback I was giving, which I had very serious health stuff come up this year from childhood trauma. So this was the year. It's like, okay, can we acknowledge what my childhood actually was? And literally they tried to torture me. They tried to punish me. They tried to mentally fucking torture me in every single way that they could, knowing that I'm an empath, knowing that I have irritable bowel syndrome right now. It was fucking disgraceful. I couldn't even believe it. So it's like, okay, you guys are actually what I was saying and afraid of the whole time, while everyone else is saying, oh, your parents are so good, your parents are so lovely, your parents are so good, your parents are so lovely, blah, gaslighting, 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 gaslighting. Who else has gone through this experience? This is deeply afflicted cancer. Moon rules the stomach. So feeling takes place. So I got a text from a 1-year-old of whom I have a Pluto square and a nodal opposition, but never mind that. Good stuff. Allow me to clarify something to you. I do not abide nor tolerate the type of harassment you have done to my daughter for well over a year. Sure. The place where I'm living right now, this father was so abusive, he murdered a man and is in life or jail, and he molested his children. And there is child pedophilia stuff going on. I don't know which side, but when you have these types of dynamics, it's quite common. But yeah, I'm gonna be the one biting the bullet. Why do the innocent people also bite the bullet? Why do the empaths get so used? Because a captain is going to target an empath. It's like they can detect them across the room. Not only are they jealous of, want to merge with, and siphon what they are attracted to in the highly inspired, gifted soul, they're also extremely envious of and want to shut them down. They want to drag them down into having the same reality as them via this hive mind, merging, copying. All must be having my reality. No shared reality, my reality. And in my reality, I'm really, really spiritual. Now, as I said, shipboat captains monitor to get your vulnerabilities. And I am too loving, too trusting, too open, too vulnerable. People let me know this shit all the time. So I shared some of my family stuff that went on this last year. You have been chased from every place you have ever lived. Your fears are self-imposed dabbling in witchcraft is your problem. The demons you call to hurt others are destroying you. Do not contact me in any way and keep your filthy witchcraft to yourself. So I got this text and I'm like, all right, keep my witchcraft to myself. I'll go down, scrape up those things, and be fucking done. Which is what I did. And of course, she ran out onto her porch and threatened to get her gun. And I said, you go get your gun and come shoot my fucking face off. This woman who's telling you, oh, you're so scared, you're so afraid. Only one of us is watching the news 24 hours a day. I kind of have a feeling this might be a projection. So yeah, once the gun, that was a huge mistake. That is going way too far. A year ago, there's a death on that property. Several years before, there's a death on this property, and you're fucking trigger happy to get your gun because I'm removing the prayer that I asked permission to put in your lawn so you can effectively dump your hatred on me because you need to have a scapegoat. Pathetic. So I said to the 50-year-old, your mom just threatened to pull a gun on me. Just stay out of her yard and don't talk to her. It's that easy. You provoke and then accuse. Oh, I provoke and then accuse? Yeah, I don't think that's fucking true whatsoever, but I think that the 80-year-old who met me twice and knows absolutely nothing about me pretends to be psychic and then is going to feed the cowardly crew a delusion. And the cowardly crew, literally through this triangulation, mommy's saying, my daughter never lies. My daughter never lies. And certainly I'm not wrong in any way. It's really useful when you get to take death and use it and manipulate it to your convenience. Because what I noticed is when the death actually occurred, nobody offered a funeral, nobody offered a ceremony. The kids went to Walt Disney World the next few days. But now, all of a sudden, it's fucking using your fucking child. The shit pisses me off so bad. I've experienced this so many times. When it gets to this point, you cannot relate to something like this. They have all of the ammo, all of the consciousness, everything they need to be a fucking victim out of absolutely nothing. You provoke and then accuse. Do not contact her or trespass on her yard. No fucking problem. In fact, I was keeping to myself the whole goddamn time. And then when I went down to finally meet my neighbor, she was like pity party. You really don't stay too long. Oh, I really want to get to know you. And I'm like, yeah, I have good boundaries. And that upset her, which was a red flag in itself. No, what I'm supposed to do is literally whatever is coming out of that person's mouth as if it were goddamn spiritual law. And these shipboat captains attract these cowardly crew flying monkeys that revalidate and revalidate and then revalidate their delusional reality so much they are 100,000% convicted and convinced that they know everything. You have to follow orders. That's what everyone on the crew does. And if you do not follow an order, therefore, boy, you better watch out. Because all the shit I just shared you is because via this triangulation that was happening in person, and this person kept digging deeper, projecting more and more, getting more and more abusive until it actually was abusive. And then I'm saying that it's abusive. I'm saying it's abusive. I'm saying that I can't speak. I'm saying this is super disrespectful to the point where I have to go, just fucking go. And what happens when I go? Sit down. Sit down and be a man. And be my bitch at the same time. It's a total contradiction. I am a man. And I have a very good head screwed on my shoulders. Not only do I know what I'm doing in a way that most people couldn't possibly fathom, I now have a radar and a detection that sets off so fast and so early. I only need to interact with the shipboat captain one time. It always leaks out. The confession is constantly taking place. The power dynamics is what rules the entire thing. Fear and insecurity is what rules the entire thing, because fear and insecurity is what provokes these hyper immature souls to grab onto this false reality for false comfort. And then you have, again, through the scapegoating of someone else, which is just going to be different, just going to be unknown. That's all you need to be to make yourself afraid. And that's the other thing I want to share. The reason why all of this shit's getting put onto me is because I'm a safe person. They know that I have a heart. They know that I'm spiritually oriented. So you think that you can get away with all this fucking abuse, this gaslighting, and actually convert and convince me into believing that I'm an evil person because someone doesn't know how to communicate. Okay. My IBS being told that that's actually demons coming back to attack me because I work with demons, it's not the first time I've heard that. The ableism, the trauma shaming, the victim blaming, the inability to address anything in life that's slightly uncomfortable creates these dynamics to the point where some of the most spiritually advanced people you don't even know what's going on at home. You don't even know how fake that mask is. You don't know the soul until unmasking. We are in a time of revelation. This is a time of unmasking. That is why I'm very excited to be presenting on Pluto in just several days, the 25th, 5 p.m. Eastern time. I will put information in the video link in just a few minutes. This is the end of the road. We are told Pluto is death. Death is actually transformation. We are told, you might have heard, probably your first definition of the word apocalypse is this is the end of the world. That's not what apocalypse means. Apocalypse means revelation. Apocalypse means unmasking. We are in a time of utmost unmasking and revelation, largely being triggered by Pluto's entrance into Aquarius. So yes, my boomer friends, and yes, I have friends who have boomers. You know, everyone gets butthurt when I talk about the generational Pluto stuff, and everybody wants me to talk about your Pluto sign. So join my astrology school. Dozens and dozens and dozens of hours. Pluto through all the signs, all the houses. Neptune through all the signs, all the houses. Uranus through all the signs, all the houses. Everything. So don't be butthurt that I'm not talking about your Pluto sign. Go to RasalilahCommunity.com and fill yourself up with all that information so I don't have to be a broken record, which is why I created the school in the first place. But Pluto in Aquarius does bring up the intergenerational tension in itself, because we're being expected to understand. Well, we're not being expected to understand. We are being provoked by the universe to awaken to a higher understanding of what life is, what humanity is. And that's why I've chosen yesterday through today to talk about this specific dynamic that shows up almost universally in relationships. So we don't dehumanize, we don't use these words to, it's not insults, this is humanity. If you're narcissistic leaning, you're narcissistic leaning. If you're codependent leaning, you're codependent leaning. Just understand so you can start doing the dance in your life. Stop taking it personally. You don't have to go on a witch hunt because someone can actually see what's going on in you. You can say, yeah, I know, I'm working on it. Was that so fucking hard? Yeah, I know, I'm working on it. Was that so fucking hard? You had to get your mother to turn me into a wicked witch and threaten to kill me, so now I have to leave? Because you couldn't just say, yeah, I'm aware, I'm working on myself. And you know, this isn't really helpful feedback. Is that so fucking hard? It is for everyone in my extended family. It is for all of my old friends, which are ex-friends, and that includes the people I'll be moving away from in a few months. And I cannot wait. Because where I'm going to be going is where people want to receive what it is that I want to give. People who want wisdom, people who want to understand their shadow, people who want to work on themselves. Because I'll let you know, this ain't spiritual. The delusional fog machine, I'm always ascended and my daughter never lies and I'm perfect too. It's basically the antithesis of spirituality, honestly, because spirituality is about purification. It's about coming into a humility by understanding we're not perfect and we're not supposed to be perfect. I did want to speak that too, because I was a little harsh on the boomers, but we need to be harsh on the boomers. And the boomers themselves are like, yeah, this is true about my generation. This is just objective facts. The abusers are, the boomers are hanging on, not letting go, picking up the ladder. Of course, not every individual. Someone got mad like, oh, you say I'm not unmasking, I must. I'm sure you did. Also, Jeffrey Wolf Green, who in my heart is one of the most beloved souls that I know, is a Pluto Leo. And he was the first one to expose and unmask, yeah, we're the generation that runs the whole world into the ground, as well as speaking to future generations up till where we are now, falling exactly in place where he said it would, decade after decade, even with the huge resistance of so many toxic, positive New Agers that want to make it into something different, where we just click our heels and we go straight up and we do all of our spiritual evolution in several days, which is such a bastardization. It's also a disrespect of, a dishonoring of spiritual evolution in itself. If you ever see somebody that is envious of their teacher, or they're trying to shortcut to, if not past, their teacher, that's a huge red flag. You know, that's again this disrespecting, taking, and using, when if you are actually able to receive it in a humble way, you become infinitely more proficient. How can we hand down what we want to hand down if everyone is too busy pretending they know everything and have everything so far? I've been consistently saying, hey, I think I'm holding these things that are quite rare for over a dozen years because it's matter of fact. So don't just take my word for it. You get to dive into the deep end this coming 25th, Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern. And of course, my entire astrology school is the whole thing at this point. And we're going to keep going deeper as well. I'm going to continue to work on it. The next Q&A, you can bring in your birth chart, ask any question about your life, your experience. We also test drive and prove evolutionary astrology every single month. It is one of my favorite things to do. It is one of the most powerful events that you can attend as we test drive and, you know, kind of multi-fire 10-minute reading after 10-minute reading after 10-minute reading, and you see how interconnected we are and how we're going through similar experiences at similar times without even having to point it out. It's just as clear as day. So anyone who could use my support, check out the Q&A will begin at 11 a.m. Eastern time the following day, the 26th. I hope in some way, shape, or form, the breaking down of this dynamic, the allegories that I use, which I was shamed for, talking in allegorical terms, the psychological terms, the psychological realities that I was shut down for saying and sharing as if we shouldn't be sharing those things. Thank you for being here. Thank you for receiving what I love to share. God bless.